What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Canes game review for game number 7 of the season, a 4-3 shootout win against the Chicago Blackhawks. Introing this game, we have James Reimer starting the net for the Carolina Hurricanes, and on the other end, Kevin Lankinen in for the Chicago Blackhawks. Jacob Slavin, Teuvo Teravainen, Warren Foegele, and Jordan Martinook all coming off the COVID-19 protocol list and rejoined the team here. They came off the list earlier in the week, or actually I guess on the weekend, and have now rejoined the team. This was their first game back for all 4 players. And of course, with Mrazek's injury and him needing to have surgery, I believe he's opting for surgery. He had 2 options, and it seems like he's going to go have surgery. With him missing extended time, Antoine Bibeau has been recalled from Chicago to the taxi squad. So as of right now, Alex Nedeljkovic is the Canes' backup. Not sure if we'll see him for Thursday's game or not, but there's a good chance we're going to see Alex Nedeljkovic very soon. First period starts, and it was a very slow-paced game at the beginning, probably for the first about 3 or 4 minutes. Reimer made this huge save on Brandon Hagel in front. Andrei Svechnikov, who was around the net and had like 5 or 10 chances in this game to score a goal, he had a great chance, and Kevin Lankinen made a terrific save on him early in the first. I do want to bring this up too. Kevin Lankinen is obviously was not expected. If you look at the Chicago Blackhawks roster entirely, you don't really think, especially their goaltending, nobody would even look at this roster and think that this is a team that can compete on any average night. But Lankinen's basically been found gold during this whole thing. He's been actually really good. He had a really good game here, even despite the loss. Shortly after the Svechnikov chance, though, Jordan Staal, this kind of reunited second line of the Canes, for some reason, Svechnikov being with Staal continues to happen. Foegele, I believe, is the other one on that line with him. Anyways, Jordan Staal makes this incredible move. And actually, I want to bring this up too before we get to the goal. Jordan Staal has been really, really good ever since he came back from COVID. I thought he had a strong first game against Detroit, but it wasn't as good as he's been since he's come back. Staal driving wide, kind of shields off the defender with his arm. One-hand pass over to Svechnikov, who taps it right by Lankinen's right pad. No real chance on this one. It's a perfect pass, and it's a one-handed pass. It's a great play from Jordan Staal. Svechnikov has his, I think it's 5th of the year, and the Canes lead 1-0. And for the next 5 or 6 minutes of this game, it was basically Carolina just dancing around Chicago's end. Just buzzing. The whole team was just buzzing offensively for a good little stretch here in the first, and tons of chances, but nothing else going through. Dougie Hamilton ends up taking a slashing penalty on Dominik Kubalik as he had a little breakaway. Bit of a weaker call, but of course, it's a breakaway, and if you watch the play, Hamilton goes literally from one side of Kubalik's body to the other and then slashes across. It's going to get called pretty much 9 times out of 10. Chicago ends up on the power play. On this power play, for some reason, James Reimer decided he was going to start throwing hip checks. I don't even know what all that was about. I think it was on the brink hit. Somebody skating towards the back of the net. But yeah, he literally went out of his crease and definitely interfered and could have easily been called. My guess is it wasn't called was, the reason being the Canes were already on the penalty kill. And before the Canes killed the penalty off, there was a really good chance in front for Pius Suter. And if you've never heard that name before, you are probably about 90% of fans. Pius Suter, obviously a new face to the Chicago Blackhawks, and James Reimer makes a pretty good stop on him in front. After the Canes kill the penalty, a chip down the half boards, back to the point to Brady Shea. Shea rips a slap shot off. It gets blocked in front. Jordan Staal there recovers the rebound, finds Warren Foegele pretty easily, and Fogel's got the whole net to look at, and he shoots and scores. Gets his first of the season. Canes lead 2-0. Jordan Staal, another really good assist in this one. Hayden Fleury ends up taking a holding penalty. So Chicago goes back to the power play, and on their power play, Kubalik, Kurashev, and Pius Suter just combined for this beautiful passing play. Tic-tac-toe, easy tap in for Kurashev right on the doorstep. Chicago narrows the lead down to 2-1. Not too long after, as we're in the dying moments of the first period, a bad turnover by Jacob Slavin, who had a really poor first half of this game and really redeemed himself in the second half. His puck skips right to the slot. Easily, Patrick Kane, one of the best snipers in this league. For the how old is he? He's 32. He's probably been playing since he was 18, I think. So 14, 15 years in this league. He's going to bear that every time. He's just a pure goal scorer that way. So an extremely tough end of the first. It ends 2-2. The Canes obviously came out flying and, let off the gas pedal a little bit. But credit to Chicago, they did come back and they were showing that they are a better team than a lot of people think. And I made mention of this. I tweeted about this. Is the issue with playing a team like Chicago is Chicago can't defend. They're very bad in their own end. They're brutal in their own zone. For just really long stretches of this game, it was very, very bad, where you could tell Chicago was just out of their element trying to defend against the Canes. But this is still a team that has Dylan Strome, Alex DeBrincat, Patrick Kane, Kurashev, Kubalik, who scored 30 last year in his rookie season. These players all still exist on this team. This team can put up goals easily. And the Canes learned this lesson in the worst way possible, giving up a 2-goal lead in the first period and ending it tied up instead of up 2-0. So the second period started a lot of bringing that effort back for the Canes. Nino Niederreiter, Ryan Dzingel both have good chances to start this period. Reimer makes this really good sequence of saves, one off to Brinkett and then a rebound off of Kubalik. And as we were in the second period, pretty early on, we started getting into this physical hockey game. There was kind of an innocent play. It was obviously not intentional. Carl Soderberg coming through the neutral zone, just trying to get out of the way, do that crossover. We've seen it a billion times if you watch neutral zone play in hockey. You see that player crossing over. He bumps into Brett Pesce. Brett Pesce's slow to get up. And then from here, the game just really took a physical turn for the next 5 or 6 minutes. Started getting a little bit chippy, and then there was this huge hit that Andrei Svechnikov laid on Carl Soderberg. And it really wasn't this big run up or anything. Svechnikov just stood him up hard. Soderberg had his head down, he was skating through the neutral zone, and Svech just kind of skated out, back skated a little bit off the boards, stood his ground and completely laid him out. There was a backhander chance by Patrick Kane. Of course, it was talked about on the broadcast if you saw the Fox Sports Carolinas broadcast. Trip Tracy asking Cam Ward, who has played for both the Canes and the Blackhawks, about Patrick Kane's backhand. And just him talking about how impossible it is to read. And honestly, if you slow the play down, Kane kind of does the same thing on every backhand, and it's very impressive. He basically gets a wedge underneath the puck. So he's able to wedge it up. Hold on, I'm going to get a puck for this. He's basically able to get a wedge underneath the puck with his backhand every time, and that's what really elevates it and makes it so hard for a goaltender to follow it and track it and make that save, because there's just so much less time to react when you're trying to read a puck off the backhand. And if you think about the best backhanders in the NHL going today, I would hazard a guess the top two are Sidney Crosby and Patrick Kane. Anyways, neat little story about this puck. As you guys can see, there's an Ottawa Senators logo. There's a Carlson jersey behind me, but this puck was thrown to me by Stanley Cup champion Luke Schenn in a Flyers-Sens warm-up game once. So that was fun. I got that in 2014. No, it was 2013. Anyway, that would pretty much do it for chances in the second period. After the Kane chance, I didn't even mention, hit Reimer square in the forehead and went up into the netting. That would be the end of the second. We are still tied 2-2 after 2. And as we enter the third period, Rod Brendamore starts juggling his lines up a little bit. In a move I didn't really understand beforehand, even though it did pay off, I don't like the idea of moving Svechnikov down in the lineup. Him and Aho being together, and I think that's how Brendamore does the lines. He more or less does pairs instead of a trio. Brendamore goes back to the Svechnikov, Aho, and McGinn line that we've seen from the last couple games. Svechnikov ended up having this ridiculous deking chance where he just toe drags around and gets his leg caught up in somebody else, and it's up in the air, but he's still got control of the puck and spreads his legs out, stabilizes himself, and gets a chance off, which again Kevin Lankinen was able to stop. Brock McGinn ends up drawing a penalty on Nicholas Beaudin. So the Canes are headed back to the power play. On that power play, Nietzsche's had a great one-timer opportunity. Nietzsche's really buzzing in this one. I didn't think he had a really good game. He was kind of all over the place. But his speed and his willingness to go and play, as you guys can see all over this third period, especially the final few minutes, Necas was just going. Like, he wanted that goal. He wanted to end this game. And he just has this one-time opportunity and a great save again by Kevin Lankinen. And a little play, Nino Niederreiter takes a shot. It actually gets blocked, I believe, by Connor Murphy, and it dribbles out to Vincent Trocheck, and he's able to easily bury it. His 5th of the season, along with Svechnikov's 5th of the season from earlier in the game. And the Canes are back up on top, 3-2. James Reimer makes another big save on Patrick Kane in this one. He kind of did have Kane's number after that first goal. Pretty much from there on out, Reimer had Kane's number, and that would come back up in the shootout. But another really good passing play, this time one coming from behind the net very easily. I believe 2 Canes ended up colliding with each other on this play as well, kind of opening that up. Dylan Strome sitting in front of the net, a really good passing play to Brinket. Kurashev, I believe, was the other one on the ice. And Strome's going to bury that. He's a very good hockey player. He's going to bury that. So we're tied up 3-3, and after this goal, it was pretty much the Carolina Hurricanes game from here on out. Svech had 2 chances. One, he had a great pass from Aho. He had a chance right toward the end. Another one was a breakaway, like literally seconds after that one. Lankinen made stops on both. Trocheck got denied by Lankinen as well. And the last big chance before the end of regulation, Brady Shea kind of walks down the half boards, gets a very sharp angle shot off, but the rebound is the really big save. Nino Niederreiter actually has kind of redefining his role in this team, and his role is becoming a net front presence. He was actually able to get a good stick on the puck, but it just went wide. So again, another huge chance, but this leads us to the end of regulation, and we head to overtime, tied 3-3. As we entered into overtime, I mentioned Marty Necas right before. Man, he was flying this whole game. He had an opportunity. I'm not even sure what was going on, but it was most likely it was a change, but a stretch pass finds Necas. He was in, but a great back check from Duncan Keith, the 2015 Norris Trophy winner, to get back and make sure that Necas couldn't get that shot off cleanly. James Reimer makes another big save on Alex DeBrincat in overtime. Trocheck and Aho also having chances in this overtime period, but to no avail, and we head back to the shootout for the second game in a row. The first round of shooters, Alex DeBrincat up, kind of went forehand to backhand, was stopped easily by James Reimer. Dougie Hamilton was the first shooter for the Canes, and he tried the exact same play he did against Anton Hudobin in the shootout against Dallas, and was stopped that time. Patrick Kane, second shooter for the Blackhawks, really came down, does exactly what Patrick Kane does. He will skate in a straight line at you and make about 50 different moves with his stick. He's so ridiculously good at stick handling and faking you out. James Reimer, having none of it though, makes a great save on him. Just stays patient. Trocheck, the second shooter for the Canes, kind of came down, did this bit of a different play. Did this same swing out wide that we saw where he scored against on that right side post against Hudobin in game number 6 of the season. He comes down, swings left, comes back in and tries to shoot 5-hole on Lankinen. This was the second straight 5-hole, chance. Like basically the Canes shot for Lankinen's 5-hole for some reason. This one also stopped by Lankinen. Dylan Strome, the third shooter, came down, made a nice backhand play, but again, a great glove save on this one. Sprawled out. James Reimer we can't stop saying good things about this guy. The third shooter for the Canes, Andrei Svechnikov, who was everywhere in this game. Chance after chance after chance. And as Brendan Moore said after the game, he was 0 for 3 in this game, and he said he wasn't expecting him to let him down and go 0 for 4. And sure enough, he did, and he made a pretty simple move, comes down, goes fakes backhand, back to forehand, shoots it, just gets it over the pad and under the blocker of Kevin Lankinen, and the Canes win in the shootout 4-3. So the only tweet wrapping up the game here that I'm going to show, because, well, one, I didn't really stay on Twitter because I had to be up at, I actually had to be up at 4:45 in the morning. This game ended around 11 o'clock at night, so I didn't really stick on Twitter and find any tweets. I pretty much just saw a couple when I was eating breakfast at 5 this morning, so this is the only one I've got. This one from Corey Lavalette at Corey Lav on Twitter. Brendan Moore looked a bit worn down after the game. He admitted the Canes were a little bit off tonight, and he said he thought the returning group of players were sluggish, and it bled into our group. He added, "We found a way, and that's all you really want. You want 2 points." Yeah, that's all you want. Honestly, this obviously a group of players who have been quarantining and not doing anything. I mean, there's the great quote from Teuvo Teravainen prior to all this where he said, like, Jacob Slavin read a bunch of books and did stuff in his time off. Meanwhile, Turbo just kind of did nothing. You're going to get different types of experiences with different players, and I mentioned earlier in the video, Jacob Slavin looked a little shaky in the first half of this game. He started, figuring it out towards the end. For guys who have just been sitting, doing nothing for a little while, it's obviously tough to get back in the lineup. I thought Warren Fogle had a good game. Obviously, in the last video, I've been talking about how I was not willing to put him back in the lineup. Very clearly, he's fine in this lineup, and he kind of fits where he is. It's time to start looking at the Martinook thing, but what I worry about is something with character, and that person being in the locker room. How many times have we seen the Mista Svechnikov clips? It's always a tough situation to pull, somebody out of the lineup who's like that. It's just a fine line to walk. But I do want to bring that back to some of the guys that played in these guys' absences were good. And mainly I'm talking about Steven Lorentz. Lorentz honestly played really great. Really, really good in these games, and it was really tough to see him get scratched. And if you're watching these games and you're wondering why we keep seeing Morgan Geekie, even though he's not really producing, he's not playing a whole lot, I'm fairly certain, and this is based off no knowledge, I'm fairly certain the only reason he's in the lineup right now is because there is no fourth line center if Morgan Geekie is not playing. They tried Martinook on as the 4C, I should say, at the beginning of the season, and it didn't work. So the question becomes, do you drop your centerman out of the lineup to, play Lorentz, who I believe is just more of a pure winger? Or do you run the risk of, putting Lorentz back in and having Martinook be the 4C, but not really a good 4C enough for that line? Again, fine lines to walk, and I'm not going to question Rod Brendamore much on these ones. I'm going to let him make the decisions. I'll start criticizing him when it's time to be criticized. There's obviously a time and place for that, and it's clearly not right now. And I'll give credit to the other tweet you guys would have seen already in the video, Brett Fingers. I didn't mention it at the time, but he's a great follow on Twitter anyways, gifing the games and all that kind of stuff. But of course, his gif of the Svechnikov goal, which I took a little screenshot of as the puck is in the net for you guys earlier. Go follow Brett on Twitter if you haven't already. But anyways, guys, I didn't really write an outro for this. Usually I have a few notes about the game and everything, but I ran out of page space for it. So yeah, if you're ever wondering what I'm doing during the game besides being on Twitter and watching the game, it's writing down what the hell happens in the game. So I didn't write anything down because I literally shut the TV off pretty much as soon as Svechnikov scored and went right to bed. But a quick wrap up, I thought, there was a lot of players that were sluggish coming back into the lineup, and of course you're going to have that. But I thought this was a good game, even though, facing a team like Chicago, who is obviously a bottom tier of the league team, they don't have their captain for the entire season. Their defense is severely depleted. Other than Duncan Keith, there's not really any good ones. Yeah, it's obviously you don't want to see a shootout victory because that means you could have easily lost the game. But 2 points is 2 points. So that is going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Click that like button down below if you did like the video today. And if you're not already a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. There is more content than just the Canes on here. If you like gaming, if you like the old NHL video games, I have a NHL 2004 series going on right now. And there'll be something new coming to the channel very soon. That is NHL 21 related. And just a reminder, guys, as a result of the game being tomorrow night at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night, I'm in class during that time. So as a result, there will be no Canes game review for that game. Again, I mentioned in a previous video, pretty much any Thursday night game is not going to get covered. I wish I could, but I also don't want to do a Canes game review on a game that I just watched the highlight pack from. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will see you guys for the next Canes game review.